All right, guys, what's going on? Look, I came across this, and this is just literally blowing my mind to kind of read some of this stuff. So I wanted to kind of jump on here real quick. I mean, I know I'm probably not going to get no sleep tonight anyway, but I came across this. I posted a few of this on Twitter uh, at the Financial Revolution 2021. If you want to check this out, but look, I came across this just doing some research. Now, granted, this is an old report. This is back from 2016, and it kind of gives you a detail as far as what DTC banking scam, what's going on. And of course, like I said, background research from October of 1995 through March of 2000. A lot of this stuff, like I said, it's an old report. Granted, we're looking back at 2016, but this is just some of the findings that this gentleman here went through. So I just want to kind of touch base on a few of this stuff. So the DTCC, what is the best kept secret in American headquarters right there in New York City? The general public has pretty much no knowledge of what the DTC is, what they do. They do have a sign out front which says the Tower of Power. So that's probably a good, terminology to use for what I found going through this. So the DTCC is the world's largest security depository, holding nearly $19 trillion in assets for participants and their customers. So you got to think this is a few years old, so 19 trillion. So you're probably looking into the upper 20s, maybe even more, as far as the money that's being held within this. Now, in 1995, after an encounter numerous no comments of my raid, had a telephone call with this gentleman named Jim McNeff, who told me his position was director of training of the DTC. He said he'd been employed there for 19 years, very proud of his employer. And it kind of goes on to kind of detail into as far as, what they do as far as their offerings and stuff like that. So he was informed back in 95 that the DTC is the largest limited trust company in the world. Assets of 9.1 trillion in July of 98. Think about this, guys. The world. All right, DTC Finance Department, who said that the DTC assets are currently estimated around 11 trillion as of April of 1999. Itself has stated that its assets totaling nearly 19 trillion. McNeff also stated that DTC is a brokerage clearing firm and transfer center where a private bank for securities. We handle the book entry transactions for all banks and brokers. Every bank and brokerage firm must secure their membership with us in case they become insolvent. So your assets are secure with DTC. Yes, that's correct. The DTC is a private bank that processes every stock and bond for all U.S. banks and brokerage houses. Again, this is going to blow your mind to kind of see how this going down this rabbit hole here. So, just who gave this private bank and trust company such a broad range of financial power and clout? The reason the public doesn't know much about the DTC, that they're probably on a depository bank for institutional and brokerage firms only. Only. They have no ties to us. None. They're not out there looking for us. They're only, again, you got to become a member of this anyway. So, and we're not members. They process all their book entry, settlement transactions, so forth. There's no need for public to know about us. It's required by the Federal Reserve, that the DTC handle all transaction. All right. So again, kind of goes on to a little bit of other stuff, but here's where it gets kind of iffy on what it is. In other words, the depository trust company is really just a front or a division of the Federal Reserve System. Now think about that for a second, guys, while I take my sip of coffee. Literally a part of the Federal Reserve. Now, granted, we all know that the Federal Reserve is no more federal than FedEx. They're a private banking system as well. But come to find out, what I'm finding out now is that, yes, even though, granted, we look at the Federal Reserve, we know they're a large entity, large private bank. The DTC, another just arm of the Federal Reserve. Now think about this, guys, for a second. Look at, just go back a few years. But, of course, we keep saying audit the Fed, everything else. There's so much stuff tied in to not just the Federal Reserve, but now the DTCC. It's almost like, all right, well, the Federal Reserve sits there, and we know what they do. We know they set rates, they set interest rates. Everything is pretty much tied back to the Federal Reserve. There's a lot of nefarious stuff that I believe going on with the Federal Reserve, which is why no one's ever gone after them. I mean, granted, they pretty much control everything. They are, in a sense, the government, because the government doesn't go after them. So, excuse me. As that kind of kept going on a little bit. Now, DTC is 35.1% owned by the New York Stock Exchange on behalf of the exchange members. It is operated by a separate management and has an independent board of directors. It is a limited purpose trust company and is a unit of the Federal Reserve. So, now how does this affect us? Okay, so kind of going down here, I read something that really stood out to me. And since the DTC, blah, blah, blah. All right, here we go. So, the DTC private holding company or street name, as shown on certificates we have personally examined from numerous certificate holders, is shown as either Seed and Company, Seed Company, or Seed and Co. We have researched every source known to learn who Seed really is, but have been unable to get any background information on them. Now, granted, this is an old document. I did find some stuff. We must presume that the information Mr. McDuff gave us was of course, correct when he confirmed that Seed Company was a controlled private holding company for the DTC. We have now found the following proof that Seed is real from the Bear Stearns internet site. Well, we know Bear Stearns is vanquished. So, going on to something else. Now, granted, I want to go back to my Twitter because I posted all this on here. All right. So, here I found information. Seed and Company. Seed and Company is also known as, of course, Seed and Co., is a specialist United States financial institution that processes transfers of stock certificates on behalf of Depository Trust Company, the central securities depository used by the United States National Market System, which includes the New York Stock Exchange, the NASDAQ, and other exchanges to go with associated clearinghouses such as NSCC, FICC, blah, blah, blah. Seed technically owns substantially all of publicly issued stocks in the United States. Technically, they own all. Thus, investors do not themselves hold direct property rights in stock, but rather have contractual rights that are a part of a chain of contractual rights involving Seed. So you can kind of go in here and kind of see when Seed was formed, blah, blah, blah. Guys, this really right here stinks to high heaven. And getting kind of more information on this, and granted, I'm going to, just real quick, bear with me. A common misconception is that Seed and Company is merely a fictitious legal name used to refer to a depository trust company. In fact, Seed is actually a New York City-based partnership of certain employees of DTC. Seed is a separate legal person from Depository Trust Company, which is owned by DTC participants who are banks and brokerage houses and not employees of DTC. One reason Seed is structured as a partnership is that each general partner can order transfers of stock registered in the name of a partnership without the need of presenting a separate corporate resolution to the stock issuer's transfer agent or stock register to validate the authority of the transfer. Okay? So, now granted, here's the thing, I want you to look at this. Founded in 1996, right? 1996, all right? Now, the article that we just read back here, all right? Now, you got to think, this is something that was investigated back from, what was it? 1995 through March of 2000, okay? And then when you talk, going into, finding out more information as far as what was going on with the Seed Company, how all this kind of fall into place. Now, granted, you got to think, if we look at the issues of stuff coming out, when did they start to actually kind of pull back the layers? Because even here, they were showing that they couldn't find anything about Seed Company at all. Like, there was to them, there was no information at all. They had unable to get any background information on them. For one, they believed it was a fictitious company. So of course, down the road, you see them go, okay, well, great, let's, we'll give you more information. Now, granted, this was updated 3 months ago, but when did I'd like to know when they actually posted this. Like, what was the date that they actually posted this information? And of course, it says Seed Company definition. retrieved 2016. So think about this. Bear with me. I know I'm kind of jumping all over the place. March 2016, that came out. 9/10 of 2016, the definition of who this was came out. So prior to that, there was no information. They came out and they finally said, hey, let's disclose who we are so people won't start digging into us, basically. That's basically what they did. I mean, come on. I mean, it don't take a rocket scientist to figure this one out. But it is what it is. All right. So, real quick. Here, now granted, take this for what you want, however you feel, what it's worth. Just bear with me for a minute, because, like I said, I like to jump down these rabbit holes. If I can get this thing to pull up, unless for all of a sudden, some reason, this website just got ploop, because I posted it, and then all of a sudden, you see probably a lot of people going, "What the hell is this? Who owns America?" Guys, I'm telling y'all, there's some stuff going on. Who owns America? Seed and the DTCC. If you have stocks and bond securities, you do not own them. They do. Who owns your residential mortgage? They do. Who caused the collapse of the American economy? They did. So, this gentleman right here, if you have stocks, bonds, yes, you know what's happening. The Wall Street stock market system is a very well masked and very well developed extreme system of financial asymmetric warfare. Now, I like this definition for one reason. Have you done any research going back through history? I have done a lot. I know spooky dude, George Soros, and all the things that he's done. I believe personally that this is what he utilized to literally bankrupt countries. I'm not the only one who's ever talked about this. There's a lot of people out there who have talked about this, that have talked about how, this asymmetric warfare has been utilized various times. So it is a collection of protocols used to bring down a country and its society from within without using a preponderance of force. That's what George Soros has done. What we as Americans have been taught for 100 years in reality is a lie wrapped in an enigma. The sad and shocking reality is that nothing in our country today is as it seems. Granted, I totally believe that. You can go through and see what's really going on. You can see the processes of what's been happening here lately. You see who the big players are. You know who's in control. There's no real accountability for anybody at above a certain level. I think most of y'all can kind of connect the dots on that. So, the formation of the infrastructure that was allowed the Wall Street stock market system to develop began in 1913, after the meeting at Jekyll Island, and was followed by subsequent congressional legislation that led to the formation of the Federal Reserve. Once the Reserve was formed and approved by Congress, which was totally a big fuck up, the groundwork was laid for financially related asymmetric warfare protocols to begin conducting the theft of confiscation of the majority of the financial and real assets in the country from those Americans who have believed for the last 100 years that they were investing in a country by buying stocks, bonds, securities on Wall Street. Now, if I'm not mistaken, I believe it was Abraham Lincoln who even said a central banking system would be the demise of our republic. Granted, we don't even call it a republic no more. We call ourselves a democracy, which is farce. I'm sorry, when I still say the Pledge of Allegiance to the republic for which it stands. Granted, we say that, but in reality, no one abides by the republic. So, moving forward, the federal government cannot survive without the support of the Federal Reserve. Why is that? I mean, really. And the reason why is because they are owned by the banks. The banks own us. The Federal Reserve is a privately owned and controlled financial godfather. The Fed, through Congress, and because of its bureaucratic, political, and character impotence, voluntarily voted to give legal godfather status to the Federal Reserve. What the Congress did was exactly what the German Congress did when they voluntarily voted to make Hitler a dictator for life. The Fed does not control the Federal Reserve. The federal government does not control the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve controls the federal government. The Federal Reserve controls the federal government by controlling all the money consumed by the federal government, which is true. The Fed controls the federal government is manifested by the fact that in 100 years, the Reserve has never allowed itself to be fully audited. Correct? Where's Ron Paul when you need him? That son of a bitch, he's talking about it all the time. When are we going to audit the Fed? The Federal Reserve discloses that it is controlled by its 12 member banks. The question is, who owns and who is the controller of those 12 member banks? The answer, Seed & Co. As the sole registered shareholder through its parent holding company, the DTCC. Companies including banks are ultimately controlled by their shareholders, not the BOD. Real quick too, like I said, red pill, this is the information right here. Like y'all can look at it. Greg Morse is the one who actually wrote this. Yes, I'm just kind of citing off some of the things that he did talk about, but if y'all really want to go look into this more, you can find it here. So again, where did I start about that? There we go. All right. So again, the Seed & Company is nominee of the Depository Trust through with Seed & Co. becomes sole registered shareholder of all companies trading securities on Wall Street. All companies. The DTCC is a member of the Federal Reserve. The DTCC, with its parent holding company being the Depository Trust Company Clearing Corporation, is by far the largest and singularly most powerful member of the Federal Reserve. Why? Because the DTCC, through its subsidiaries, actually owns the 12 member banks of the Federal Reserve. Therefore, the Federal Reserve is controlled by the holding company DTCC. So, man, this is just... Now, I like this right here, where it says, the great majority of financial activity in the country upon which the national economy depends, operates through, is obligated to, and is controlled by Wall Street and the congressionally passed asymmetric warfare supporting legislation that gives Wall Street the right to do whatever the hell it wants. Guys, this is why we keep seeing a lot of this corruption in the market. We see with AMC, the GME, you pretty much name it, anybody, Sundial Club, all of them. The manipulation is real. And we keep seeing, like I said, I was doing some little bit of research too. I posted something earlier about this as well, about these high supercomputers, the AI, the algorithms. It was a really good video that I found that was created I think it was 8 years ago, where they were talking about how, there was a huge glitch in the systems, that all these systems can be manipulated. It ain't just some fail-safe shit. Hell, we even have people in like Australia, they even have a kill switch just in case a glitch happens. They can, shut it off real quick, to try to figure out what the hell's going on. So, and granted, these have happened before. These things are occurring. We are seeing this in real time. I have a conclusion to what's going on with all this, and I'll kind of give it a little insight to what I believe is really what's kind of going on here. So, he goes on to say, in conclusion, the golden rule, he who owns the gold makes the rules and has the control. True. Through its subsidiaries, the DTCC owns the majority of all private, public, and civil and commercial, financial, and real asset in this country. Of course they do. Now, granted, I guarantee you, if we really looked into the DTCC, their whatever kind of fundings, holdings they may possibly have, I guarantee you we would see so much correlation with some of your big ones: BlackRock, Vanguard, Blackstone, all those. And I'll get into a few of those later on. Therefore, effectively, they own and in actual reality controls Wall Street. So again, no one's going to save us, put it that way. No one's going to step in. Let me put it that way. We can't rely on the feds, the federal government, the SEC, anybody else to come in and save us. Why do you think the DTCC redid some of their verbiage and their paperwork to go, shit, we ain't going to do... If these companies go under, if they have to, if they hit margin call, or if they have to come up and pony up for whatever they owe for these stocks and these synthetic shares that have been created, they're obsolete now. They're going to go, nope, y'all are on y'all's own. We ain't helping y'all out one bit. So again, largest controlling member of the Federal Reserve, the DTCC controls the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve controls the federal government by controlling its access to the funds loaned the federal government every single time the federal government needs so much as a single dollar. These funds are loaned to the federal government by the private Federal Reserve. The government must collateralize this debt through its citizens and pay the interest on these loan funds to the private and DTCC-controlled Federal Reserve. This is why income taxes paid to Americans are paid to the Federal Reserve to service only a portion of the interest on the debt owed by the federal government to the private Federal Reserve. Now, guys, granted, we keep saying, our income taxes, blah, 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 blah. We pay our income taxes to the government. No, we don't. We pay it to the Federal Reserve. Those are the ones who are housing it. Why do you keep thinking whenever you see the national debt clock, you see we got $30+ trillion in debt, but if you go down to the bottom far right corner where it says unfunded liabilities, that's actually the second book system. So when people keep talking about how there's no two book system on Wall Street, bullshit. Our own federal fucking government has the same damn two book system. You can see it clear as day. All you got to do is go to the U.S. national debt clock, see see where we're at as far as how much we owe, the 30 trillion plus, and then look down into the far bottom right corner where it says shoot, I done lost my train of thought on that one. Unfunded liabilities, excuse me. And it's like 220 trillion. It could be more now. It's been a while since I looked at it, but that's the real number. So, again, I have my ideas on a few things as well. Talk about going down a rabbit hole. Income taxes paid by Americans is insufficient to pay 100% of the annual interest charged on the principal debt owed by the federal government to the Federal Reserve. That is 100% correct. The principal debt owed by the federal government to the private Federal Reserve is not serviced or reduced by income taxes paid by Americans. The integrity of America and what is supposed to be an open, free, capitalistic financial market has been decimated by the DTCC, controlled Federal Reserve, and the financial stranglehold it has on the federal government. The breathtaking reality is that the federal government gave its blessing voluntarily and legislatively to the Federal Reserve to place a stranglehold on its American citizens. Now, granted, you see who the major players are. Congress, the Reserve, DTCC, the SEC. Big one right there, guys. SEC. Yes, they are also involved in this as well. The Clearing Corporation, Depository Trust Company, Fixed Income Clearing Corporation, Mortgage-Backed Securities. All this shit, man. Of course, granted, you get into these numbers here, you're like, how much money are we talking about? Well, there you go. I mean, think about this, guys. Oh my goodness, think about this. I mean, whew. Again, fueling the financial asymmetric warfare plan. Yeah, I mean, I'm not even going to go through this real quick just because, my God, this is so much. This is so much. I mean, it goes on and on and on. Granted, I hope somebody can get this out there to, maybe Charlie's vids. Charlie, if you can get this, see this information, pull it up, do your own, research. Maybe you can find out more than I can, because I mean, going down this rabbit hole, man, it is what it is, but there's a lot of things that I just point out. They're like, this is just way too messed up. This is just to the point where I'm just like, wait a minute, there's no way that, I mean, granted, yeah, they get away with it. Now, I have an opinion, only because I know of what I have been told. I say I've been told, but, I've seen, I've heard, there's just a lot of stuff that, granted, and guys, I'm going to tell y'all too, first off and foremost, I want y'all to understand one thing. The media is not for us. The media is in the back pocket of the elitist, the rich, the powerful, all that. What y'all have to understand is that there are people out there who are looking to destroy us, and they're doing it from every aspect as possible, while all the while making themselves rich. So, what am I getting to with this? Well, in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, when we see what's going on right now, all right, now, I don't want to throw out like conspiracies or nothing like that. I'm trying to figure out what would be the best way to say this. And because I know there's a lot of people out there who may not feel the same way. But there are things that have been happening, and there have been seen happening. You can connect the dots if you know where to go of what's really going on. So here is what I think. Now, granted, You already see it here in black and white. You pretty much know who runs the show. They sold us out. When they sold us out back then, what they did was is that they created. We were no longer the United States of America. We were the United States of America Corporation. We became a corporation, a business entity. That's what we became. Anybody that says anything differently, just look at the research. You cannot deny this. This is complete and utter. I mean, just it's right there in your face. There's just so much that are just pointing out to, yes, the USA is a corporation. You know, like I said, however many times have you looked at all your stuff and your documentation and your names are all in caps? It's because they see you as an entity of the corporation. That's what it boils down to. You're an entity of the corporation. Now, there's a lot of things. Now, granted, I'll tell you this 100% because I watched a video not too long ago where a female attorney, a high profile female attorney, was like, I'm linking this to the White House website, and there was a document that was actually put forth by Donald Trump. You could read it, Ben. When I go to click on that daggone document, of course, granted, I just saw this video like maybe a month ago. Trump wasn't in office. When she made the post, Trump was in office. So when I read this or I see this video and I click on the link, guess what it says? Not there. It was removed. So, how amazing is this? I mean, seriously. It just doesn't make any sense anymore. We can get to that point where if you want to believe certain things, if you're just so compelled to, but in my opinion, you know, we were a corporation for so long. In my opinion, from the research that I've done, the documents that I reviewed, I've seen where Trump took us off the corporation, that we're no longer a part of the corporation. He gave the power of the money. He took the power away from the Federal Reserve and put it back in the Treasury. This is what information has been out there. Now, granted, there are other people who have been talking about this along the way. A lot of high-profile people. A lot of y'all know them. I ain't got to tell you. You can do your own research, see it, Google it. Not Google it. Google don't show you anything. But that's just my opinion. Things are going to happen here probably really soon. That we're going to start seeing these transitions because they know what the corruption is. Now, we're uncovering a lot of this. We as the individual, they've already uncovered it. They already know what's going on. We as the citizens of America are looking at this going, wait a minute, man, we have been completely lied to for how many years and we're just now figuring this out? Some of us have already got it figured out. Some of y'all already got it figured out. I was going down this rabbit hole probably 8 years ago, maybe a little bit longer. 2012, I ran for Congress. I was sick and tired of seeing what was going on in the country. I got tired of the BS, the lies, the manipulation. You know, you couldn't turn on the TV, the news, without seeing them trying to miscue something. You know, they were trying to put forth some kind of negative information, but they were never giving you the true story. There were stories that were around here that I was close to those stories, know what was going on, and they completely spend it the entire time, completely spend it. And I was just like, that's the corruption that I don't like. We've got a lot of corrupt politicians in Louisiana. I mean, granted, it's Louisiana. We may not be as bad as, you know, some states, but, you know, we've had our fair share. And on both sides. Don't get me wrong, both sides. So I'm going to tell you right now, it's on my other side, but I'm a libertarian. I believe in that, you know, the being fiscally conservative and maybe socially liberal. But I have my line where I draw the line at. But again, you know, more freedom, less government type deal. But again, there are things that are going to be coming along. There are things that are going to be happening here pretty soon. You're going to be seeing it. I'm going to start doing this a lot more because there's some really, really interesting stuff that I've been pulling together. I've got some really good close friends that are actually in the government due to the fact that I did run for Congress, and we've kept in contact. I do go to our meetings and see our congressmen and senators and stuff like that. We do have conversations. I have some really really good friends that are in the retired from the Pentagon. There's some really interesting information there too. But again, there are things happening. There are things going on right now that you're just not going to understand. I'm not going to touch on, but maybe later on, at another time. But like I said, this right here, if this doesn't blow your mind, I don't know what does. Try to get this stuff out there. Pass it. Please share it, like it, do whatever you got to do. I hope y'all will subscribe too. But get this information out there as much as possible, and see if you can't get this in Charlie's Vid's hand. Get it out to everybody else too. You know, anybody that has any kind of influence. I mean, you see these 350,000 subscribers that some of these guys got. Get it out there to those guys, because it's not for my benefit; it's for their benefit. I need this. I need them to see this. I need them to be able to see what the corruption is and what's going on. Who really controls this? It's limited. Their control is now only limited. They may still have control at the moment, but in the future, they're not. There is something going to happen. And I do believe that. There's something afoot that's fixing to happen. Maybe that hammer's going to drop to see it. So, again, guys, I got more stuff coming. I got more stuff I'm reviewing, digging into. I'll make sure to post it up here soon. But if y'all would, please get this out there. Share it as much as you possibly can. See if we can get it into their hands. You know, Trey, Matt, Charlie, all of them. See if we can't get it into their hands, so maybe they can do some research on it as well. Y'all be good. Y'all have a good night. We'll see y'all again, because this is so much. I don't even know how I'm gonna be able to sleep tonight with this crap that I'm seeing. But peace out.